So now I have completed the second step of the assignment to create all of the different types of symbols. I have two deciduous trees at 20 feet at 1/8 inch scale, which are up here. I have one evergreen tree, two symbols for 6-foot evergreen shrubs, two different symbols for 3-foot deciduous shrubs, and just one massing of perennials, which I've actually applied pattern fill on there for actually a white flowering sweet woodruff. So all that's left to do is to start creating the groupings of 3 for step 3. I have to make a grouping of 3 for each shrub symbol that's been created. So I'm just going to start with the easiest symbol. I'm going to zoom in here. The simplest symbol is this one, and the way that I would go about doing that actually is that this symbol, the way it is right now, actually if I go to symbol library, the way it is right now, it actually has, you know, all the little highlights applied to it and the drop shadow applied to it and a bunch of different effects and geometry that I don't really want for the grouping just yet. So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna go inside the symbol and select just the circle, which has the drop shadow applied to it and the gradient fill and just a simple stroke. And actually the way we can verify what kind of effects are applied on it is if we go under the appearance palette. Right here you can see that there's a drop shadow effect applied to this, and it also shows you the fill. And actually this is also a very good spot that if I decide that I want to change any of the effects that are applied to that shape, I can click on that effect in this panel and just go ahead and modify it. So for example, I could remove the blur and just create a really hard shadow for that. And that would be okay. And now that updates all of my symbols. So anyways, what I want to do is go in here, go into this circle right here, if I can select it. It's actually catching that highlight, which makes it difficult to select. Zoom in here a little bit more. Okay, now that I have the circle selected with all of its effects applied, I'm going to go under the graphic styles panel and I'm going to create a new graphic style. And I'm going to go ahead and also just delete all the ones that are in there by default. And go ahead and reapply that. And what that does is just creates a graphic style, so any shape that I create, be it a circle or be it anything else, it can be drawing a polygon or a star, for example. I can have any kind of appearance on that shape, and I can go back to that graphic style panel and just apply that graphic style that matches whatever I want it to match, in this case this shrub. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and draw 3-foot shrubs. So it would help if I didn't have that set up in there already. And I'm gonna draw them at a 30-inch spacing, just the way that it's required on the assignment. And actually also let me go ahead and put those cross in there. I'm going to group these together for now. And I want to go ahead and put this in 30-inch spacing. And the way that I do that is I go under Object, Transform, Move, and I give it a distance of 30 inches, which is 2.5 feet over 8, because we're at 1/2 inch or 1/8 inch scale. And then just specify an angle that you want. I think probably 30 is okay. And you can kind of preview where that's going to move. And instead of moving, we're going to hit copy. There we go. And we're going to do the same thing again. So transform, move. And it remembers the distance from the last action. In this case, I think I'm going to do -30. And again, we can preview where that's going to go. So I'm going to get like a nice triangle effect here. Just hit copy. And the reason why I wanted to do that with the cross inside of it is so that it will just locate the center of that easily for me. Now I'm just going to ungroup all of these guys so that the circles are free from the crosses. And I'm going to select the circles by themselves. And I'm going to go to Pathfinder and click Unite. And what that did is just like add all of my shapes together. And I'm going to send to back so I can see my crosses again. And now I'm going to go to my graphic styles panel and apply the graphic style to this 3 shrub shape that I have created. And there we go. Now I have a 3 shrub group. Now for it to look exactly the same as the symbol I had created, I would have to apply the little highlights that I had added to this. And I can just go in here and just copy and paste and maybe make these into a group. So Control G. And we can make them a little bit bigger so they look right. I actually think that they might have just a little bit too much blurring applied to them, and also I don't like where this is located. So I'm going to go again to the appearance panel and modify the blur that's applied to those guys. And hit preview so I can see what I'm doing. So you just you can just play around with the opacity until you get to some place that you like the way it looks. Okay. Now I'm going to group those and copy paste. You can just play around with it until it looks exactly the way you like it. In fact, I may even modify these highlights so we can make them pop a little bit more. There we go. That looks better. And now that I've generated my group, I am ready to start labeling. And always label in a different layer. Above the art. So I'm going to create a new labels layer, and I'm going to lock the art layer, and I'm going to use the line segment tool and Just start drawing lines between the symbols, just following the labeling guidelines that we've learned in class. And always hold shift if you want to have a straight line. And there we go. Now I just have to do the same thing with these remaining 3 symbols, the last deciduous and the 2 evergreens.